I definitely want to talk about the rally that Bernie Sanders had on yesterday in Sacramento. He was introduced by Danny Glover, and it was a sight to see. Estimates of over 15 to 20,000 people showed up for that rally, and I think that is a uh, an amazing thing, particularly when you consider that not just the people have written off his campaign, but that there is this narrative that they're trying to weave that this campaign is that this season is all about how much Democrats want Hillary Clinton. And while registered Democrats may be voting for Hillary Clinton in large numbers, giving her significant victories, she has a commanding lead and it looks like she very well may win. But when you talk about the people and the number of people who are supporting Bernie Sanders that cross political lines and cross ideological lines, and we'll talk about that more in West Virginia. You'll see that there's a cross. Let me pull this up on your screen. These are images from the event on last night, and you can see that. I mean, and this image that we're looking at shows people filling up the field. So not only was the stadium packed, but the football field was also packed. Estimates of between 15 to 20,000 people showed up. And what's amazing about this is that there was little to no. I mean, look at this image. I'm sorry for those on Spreaker. I'll describe it. It looks like Bernie Sanders is in a stadium arena rock concert sold out. You know, it's not 80,000 people, but it's a good 20,000 people. And it's a good look. I mean, it is a really strong, positive look for Bernie Sanders. And, you know, it really speaks to the fact that there are a lot of people who are not aligned with the party. They're not registered as Democrats. They're not registered as Republicans, but they are registered as independents. And in California, they might actually be registered with the American Independent Party, which is a bad thing. But they're people who identify with the movement, with the revolution. And I want to say this. Regardless of how this primary plays out, Bernie Sanders has brought a movement and a revolution that cannot be stopped. It is not limited. I don't give a damn what Hillary Clinton's team says. I don't care what the establishment media says. It is not limited to white, straight, cisgendered men. It is a very diverse coalition. It does not have, and we can look at some of the data in particularly Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, and then Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders performs better by 18 points with Hispanics. He does not perform as good as Hillary Clinton with African Americans, but that's been the trend, right? There's a lot of comfort with the African American community with the Clintons, and they have essentially, and yes, those black folks. Not this one, but those black folks gave Hillary Clinton the election. There's more that there's a great video by Van Jones that you should watch where he brilliantly unpacks the things that everyone did wrong, including Bernie Sanders. So this is not something that you or anyone else should look at and say this is the fault of the black community. By even being willing to say that, you kind of underscore some of the problems that gave Hillary Clinton that margin in the African American community. But I said all that to say that this movement that Bernie Sanders started is a very diverse one. And the more people hear it, the more people realize that this is the future of America, not Donald Trump's revolution, because Donald Trump is waging a revolution on the right. I mean, he's eviscerating the Republican Party and he's bringing them to a place that, you know, I don't think they ever imagined they would be. And he's revolutionizing that side, but they are not the future. They're not. There may be some diversity, but not much, not enough to win the election, in my opinion. But there's diversity, but it is a dying coalition. even the religious components of it, even these black evangelical preachers and evangelical in general who are aligned with them. There's a great article in the New York Times today discussing the end of the religious right and their influence in our political sphere. So every facet of Donald Trump's movement, they're going to give them hell in this election. Don't misunderstand me. Donald Trump is going to give them hell in this election, but this is a dying coalition. Bernie Sanders' coalition is the coalition of millennials across all demographics, across all races, gender. Bernie Sanders is winning the future vote. And he's winning, of course, with people who are more progressive, and he's made inroads. So what we saw in California on last night really speaks volumes to the fact that this movement is not going to die. And it is going to be very problematic for the Democratic Party to continue to get the support of progressives who have been alienated by their tactics, by their machinations, their manipulations, more precisely, of the debate schedule, the media shutting them out, nobody really seeing events like this, nobody covering it in any significant way, while Hillary Clinton gets, 50 people at her rally. She gets the full media press, and Bernie Sanders, with this type of crowd, gets very little to no coverage whatsoever. And it's because we play. I don't care if it's a nefarious plot or not. I don't need to convince myself that there's some evil plot of the big business media conglomerates that want to shut out Bernie Sanders. If it is, so be it, right? I don't need that. The reality of it is that it is a convenient narrative. There is a willingness to just simply ignore and try to marginalize not so much Bernie Sanders, but marginalize this movement, and to convince us that this movement isn't really there when it actually is. And I don't care if it's a nefarious plot or it's someone just bought in for Hillary Clinton or if it's just lazy yellow journalism. I don't care what it is. The fact remains they do not want to cover how significant and how large this movement really is. And shame on them.